All right, so we had a very crazy week in the markets for obvious reasons. Being down the most, I mean, we had the worst day since, I believe, March of 2020, at least for the S&P, down about 9% on the week. NASDAQ was down 10%. Small caps and mid caps were down about the same. Even value was down, like, I think 8%. The equal weight S&P was down about 8%. Everything, like, basically nothing was up on the week. However, Bitcoin was, at least at the time of me making this video, it was actually only down about 1% on the week. MicroStrategy was up. So I'm going to get into that as well. First things first, if you get value out of the video, please like and subscribe. Check out those links below. Very much appreciate the support. So the first thing I wanted to talk about here was this post from Morgan Housel saying, spoke to an investor who said if the market actually processes what happened yesterday, it would be down 30 to 40%. The fact that it's not is either denial or belief that it'll soon be reversed. So first things first, like, I mean, a bomb could be dropped on Washington or New York tomorrow, and I don't even know if the markets would be down 30 to 40%. So that's the first thing to point out. But the other thing, too, I would want to know is that who is this? Like, who is this person he's referring to? Because, I mean, there's a lot of people out there that are doomers. There's people that, I mean, I won't name them because I don't really want to stir up drama, and that's not really my thing, at least when it comes to this. And again, who am I? I'm very, very small. There's numerous people that every single year, multiple times per year even, they're calling for these 20, 30, 40% crashes. So that's what I wanted to bring up. But the other thing is the market, like, the real question after this week that people need to be asking themselves is the market overreacting to what just happened? And my answer to that question is, in the short run, no. In the long run, yes. For the very reason being that if Trump and the Republicans keep doing what they're doing here, this is a virtual guarantee that they lose the House, they lose the Senate, and they lose the presidency in 2028. So the only logical conclusion to what they're doing is they're going to get this kind of stuff out of the way very quickly, and 6 months to a year from now, maybe even sooner for all we know, but within this year, they're going to pivot to things that are going to help. Now, in their minds, this is the other question too. The other big question is, does what they're doing, is it actually going to help? Because there's people on both sides of the debate here, and I think we need to be fair in that, number one, for the people who think that it doesn't matter what Trump does, it's bad, there's no reasoning with those people. And then there's also the people that are on the other side. I don't think there's as many of them, but there's also the people that say, especially within Canada, right? But there's also people that say, well, no matter what he does, it's a good thing. The tariffs on average, as an aggregate, are not a good thing. Like, on average, they're not a good thing, but they certainly can help to some degree. So I think you have to be fair and say Trump definitely does have a point with what he's pointing out, but on the flip side, you also have to be fair and say tariffs most of the time, on average, are going to do more harm than good. Now, you also have to keep in mind that I think the way that us Canadians are going about it is also terrible, in that our main problem is our economy's in the gutter. It's not that Trump is doing what he's doing. Our main problem is that our politicians have done a horrible job over the last decade. And I mean, it's not just the Liberals, but that definitely goes without saying. But the point here that needs to be understood, I think, is that too many people are too partisan on this issue. I think that the tariff certainly will help to some degree, but as an aggregate, they're going to do more harm than good. I think that that's the logical conclusion. But there's too many people that are so far on either side of this debate that they just cannot think clearly. Like, they really cannot think clearly. And I mean, both sides do make a good point. Like, the anti-Trump side will point out they're going to do more harm than good. and they're right about that. But the pro-Trump side will say, hey, these other countries are ripping us off. And yes, that's true. I don't think it's true to the extent that they're saying, but it is true to some degree. And that's the big hiccup that I think we're having here. So what do I think is the reality here? The tariffs certainly are going to hurt. Like, they certainly are. But on the flip side, Trump and his advisors and the people high up in the administration, this will go down as one of the biggest political blunders in history if they don't pivot to stuff that's going to really, really help the economy in the next 6 months to a year. And I know they're certainly going to say, hey, the tariffs are going to help. That's what their argument's going to be. But they also have to acknowledge, it's like, if we go into a recession, it's probably going to take 6 months to a year to get out of. And if we're still in recession when the midterms come around, regardless of how well you think the tariffs are going to do, you're going to lose the Senate, you're going to lose the House, they're probably going to impeach you again, you're going to get absolutely nothing done other than what you've already got done, which, I mean, I think they've gotten some other good things done. But, I mean, you have 4 years, and if you only have a year of that to actually get stuff done, think about how much time you're going to waste. So if they have any brains whatsoever, they're going to pivot away from what they're currently doing. And I think that the likelihood of rate cuts certainly has gone up. The likelihood of QE certainly has gone up. So I think that that's something that my prediction going into the year was we're going to see a pullback early to middle of the year. And this is certainly that example. And we're still only down about 10% on the S&P. So we certainly could go lower. My prediction is I think we could see a bounce in the near term. But if I had to guess whether or not we've seen the bottom, at least in the short term, I don't really think so. Like, I mean, the S&P is basically, if you go back a year, the S&P is basically flat now. So you have, the market being down 10% in a week. That's a lot of returns that gets knocked out in a very short period of time. So my prediction is we probably still go a little bit lower, but I think within the next month or 2 or 3, they probably start to pivot away from being so hawkish. We get the rate cuts. The Trump administration starts to lay off the hawkish talk, and they pivot away from that, and that's probably when the market bottoms. So I think we probably still have a little more room to go down, but I'd say probably next Fed meeting, that very well, I think probably, if I had to make a prediction, that probably spells the bottom. But you also have to keep in mind that if they become even more hawkish with tariffs and we go into recession, we probably still have a decent ways to go down. So it's very hard to tell. It's very hard to tell. For all we know, they come out next week and they back off. And that would probably spell the bottom. But for all we know, they come and they continue to be hawkish. We go into recession, and then we still have a ways to go down. So it's anyone's guess at this point. But the one thing that I think is fair to say is that it would be, like, again, in there you have to look at this, Ray Dalio, and I think one of the greatest sayings of all time, and one of the greatest quotes of all time is, to get a good outcome requires an accurate analysis of reality. And there's so many people that do not have an accurate analysis of reality that they can't figure this stuff out. And I think that when it comes to the Trump administration, like I brought up, it would be completely idiotic to continue to be super hawkish, towards the end of this year and going into next year, because, going into next year, and later into this year, you're in midterm season. Like, campaigns are going to be starting on midterms. So, and that's very important, because to get stuff done, you need Congress, you need the Senate. I mean, Americans know this as well as anyone, but for people outside of the states, you really need Congress and the Senate to get stuff done. And if you don't have Congress and the Senate, they probably impeach Trump again, and they'll just do whatever they can to distract him from doing anything that he wants to get done. So that's just my prediction there. From Dave Portnoy, I have a dumb Bitcoin/crypto question. If the point of Bitcoin is to be independent from the US dollar and non-regulated, why does it basically trade exactly like the stock market nowadays? Market up, Bitcoin up, market down, Bitcoin down. Now, the answer to this is quite simple, that most people don't understand Bitcoin, and Dave Portnoy being one of them. And I mean, the way we know this is, like I always say, this is an easy way to tell if people don't know what they're talking about, or they're just deliberately trying to mislead people, is if they deliberately lump Bitcoin and crypto together. Anyone who does that either doesn't know what they're talking about, or they're just deliberately misleading people. And the thing that I pointed out earlier briefly is that Bitcoin was down about 1% on the week, even though the stock market was down 10%. MicroStrategy was up on the week. So obviously it's only 1 week. And to be fair to Dave Portnoy, he put this out Thursday morning. So that happened, a lot before. A lot of the fireworks happened after he put this out. But he has since not put out a tweet saying like, "Hey, I was wrong on this," or trying to dig deeper. And I don't mean to pick on him specifically. This is just something that frustrates me. And another thing about this point too is that the people that say this kind of stuff, at least within, these are the people that are more quote unquote educated. What they say is that when Bitcoin's up, it's a bubble. It's just liquidity. It's because of QE. Whatever excuse they can make for why it's up, they'll make the excuse. But when it's down, it's like, this is because the fundamentals are terrible and it's a Ponzi scheme. And okay, well, which one is it? Like, it can't be both ways. And this is the thing. It's like, again, when it's up, it's a bubble, and when it's down, it's a Ponzi scheme. Like, why is it not a Ponzi scheme when it's up too? Why is it not a bubble when it's down too? Right? Like, they can't keep their arguments straight. And it's just proof that, again, they're trying to mislead you, or that they just don't know what they're talking about. Most people, I think it's that they don't know what they're talking about. Now, frankly, when you have an economics degree, or you're a financial quote unquote professional, it's kind of embarrassing that you don't know this stuff. But to each their own. The vast majority of people still fall into this category. But again, Bitcoin, at least this week, has clearly decoupled itself from the stock market. I'm not saying that's guaranteed to happen and stay that way going forward, but eventually it is going to happen. Like, eventually it is going to happen because it's inevitable. It is inevitable. So that's an important point to bring up there. From Bitcoin Archive, stocks having the single worst day since the COVID crash. Bitcoin went as low as $3,843 during the COVID crash. Now it's at $82,000. That's a 21 times increase in 5 years. So again, this is something that also I can't stand when people do this as well. And frankly, it's kind of embarrassing that people that claim to be experts, or at the very least claim to know what they're talking about. And this is something that is well known and should be well known. And if you don't understand this, I don't even know what to say to you, because I'm by no means an expert. I'm less quote unquote educated than a lot of these people, and to me it's quite obvious, and to me it's well known. And the point I'm trying to get at is there isn't an asset on the planet that is a very good hedge against inflation and uncertainty and volatility over very, very short periods of time, other than cash, right? That's the only example. But you also have to keep in mind that if you hold cash long term, it is guaranteed that you will lose purchasing power. So there isn't an asset to where it is a good hedge against uncertainty and volatility over the short run. So when people make these comparisons, Bitcoin, it's down so much over this short period of time, the point they're making makes no sense, because there isn't an asset that actually makes sense that is always a good hedge against inflation and uncertainty over very short periods of time. The real question we need to be asking ourselves is, what is the best hedge against inflation, uncertainty, and volatility over long periods of time? I'm talking years, if not decades. And the best asset for that is Bitcoin. So that's another important point I wanted to bring up here. The next point is from Michael Saylor. Eric Trump and Don Jr. are launching American Bitcoin, aiming to become the largest Bitcoin miner and build a Bitcoin reserve. The Trumps believe in Bitcoin. Now, this is important for obvious reasons, so I'm only going to briefly go over it. But when you have the sons of the president and two very influential people that are adopting Bitcoin to this degree, what do you think is the next logical conclusion? Like, what do you think is the next logical step? So, honestly, I think that a lot of people are talking about why Bitcoin is down so much. It's not down that much for Bitcoin, but why it's down over the last few months. And my best guess, a lot of people say, oh, whatever argument people are making. My best guess, honestly, is they were front-running what just happened in the stock market. I think that the people that are invested in Bitcoin are smarter than the average stock investor. So that's why, personally, I think, and honestly, I don't think anybody has actually pointed this out. Like, this is something that, again, I don't want to, try and toot my own horn here, but I don't think I've heard anyone make this point. So I just wanted to bring that up, is that I think that the people who are invested in Bitcoin are smarter than people who invest in stocks and bonds, et cetera, and they were front running what just happened in the stock market. And I think that when this reverses, Bitcoin will reverse much faster and much higher. So this is big news. And this is the other thing too to point out, is that when in doubt, you just have to zoom out and look at this hypothetically. And this is another way of thinking about it, is when it comes to investing, would you buy asset X? Bitcoin is a good example of this, but anything is a good example. If you weren't able to tell the price for 10 years or even 20 years, would you still buy? And the answer to that is Bitcoin is absolutely. Absolutely. In fact, I think that would be preferable, because you wouldn't care about the volatility. You just buy and hold. So that's why I just like this. And I think that this is a clear step in the right direction. Given all of what has happened, what makes you think that Bitcoin is going away? Not only is it not going away, it is getting adopted at a very high rate. And again, speaking of that, this is from the Pelosi tracker on Twitter. Senator Dave McCormick disclosed buying another $600,000 of one of the Bitcoin ETFs, and he's bought $900,000 year to date. And all of it has been within the last month or so. So, again, why is this important? This guy sits on one of these finance committees, or I don't know exactly which one it is. But again, am I endorsing politicians doing this kind of stuff? Absolutely not. But you also have to keep in mind that these people know things that we don't. And when you see stuff like this, you really have to take note. And the last thing I wanted to bring up here is MicroStrategy bought 22,000 Bitcoin on Monday. I mean, they announced it on Monday. That brings them up to 528,000 coins. So, and again, their average price, 67,000 roughly. We're down at about 83 at the time of me making this video. So their average price is coming up quite fast. But you also have to keep in mind that the vast majority of their debt is not due until after the next halving. So again, what I think MicroStrategy is doing is absolutely genius. I think that they're going to be one of the top 10, maybe even the top stocks by market cap in the world one day, and they're only just getting started. At this rate, they very well might reach 1 million coins. Like, I still think it's going to be hard to do, but honestly, at the rate they're going, it is certainly within the realm of possibility. So I very much, also another thing to point out is MetaPlanet bought more Bitcoin this week. So with all this stuff happening, what makes you think that we have seen the highs in Bitcoin over the next year? I think we're going to go higher. I very much think we're going to go higher. I think by the end of the year, we're going to have rate cuts. We're going to have QE. The tariff threats, or at the very least the volatility because of tariffs, they're going to be in the rearview mirror. and I think the stock market will be trending up. Now, it might be from a lower level than we currently are. Doesn't necessarily mean we're going to be at new highs, but I think that Bitcoin's going to be at new highs. I think that MicroStrategy probably will be at new highs. At the very least, we'll be testing it. And I think going into next year, I think that's going to be where we're going to see some very good returns. And the last thing I'll leave it on here is that when you look at what MicroStrategy is doing, when you look at what the administration is doing, the Trump administration, when you look at the fact that we have the ETFs, I think that the traditional Bitcoin halving cycles are going to be a thing of the past. I think that I think it's going to be a steady staircase higher. We're going to see these massive runs up over 3, 4, 5, 6 month periods, and then we're going to see these plateaus for 6 months or so. Again, these time frames could change drastically, and then we'll see a little bit of a pullback, and then we're going to go up. We're going to go up, 50%, 100%. We'll pull back 20, 30%, etc., etc. That's what I think is going to happen going forward. So anyway, this video has gone on very long, so I'm going to leave it there. If you liked the video, like I mentioned at the start there, please like, subscribe, comment, check out those links below, and stay tuned for more.